I mean, you can take any old film, find the right niche, and if you have the enthusiasm and the intelligence, you can sell it again. I mean, there's so many great films that haven't been seen, but you guys haven't seen 85% of the great films in the world. I mean, I could take, for example, I think if I was smart with marketing, this is not my specialty, I'd take a film like Nixon, and I'd show it today in 2006 because he makes the Bush makes Nixon look like, you know, St. Augustine.
And my second question about the door, I think that that's where he was going first. My second question was, Dennis Leary once said that in his No Cure for Cancer album, he said that the Doors could be summed up in 5 seconds as, I'm drunk, I'm nobody, I'm drunk, I'm famous, I'm drunk, I'm dead. I was just wondering, do you think there's probably more movies than that, or is that a pretty accurate description?
Well, you know, as far as shallowness goes, I like it. And it describes a shallow person. As spoken by one. The Doors, to me, is a very important film, and it's a precursor to Alexander, and it's a much underrated film, but I don't want to defend it and sound like but I really love that film, and I know that it works because people all over the world, kids who were anywhere from 12 to 25 at the time, always say it was a seminal film for them, because it summed up some esprit de corps. And I think it's Dionysus we're talking about, the god of Greek myth, the 13th god, a little bit the unstable god, the one that they don't quite respect, not the respectable one, the guy with the wine leaves in his hair, who brings a drunken grape to the women. You know the story of Dionysus, I presume. If you don't, you should read about it, because we need Dionysus in society. Nietzsche wrote about Apollo and Dionysus, and contrast them. And Dionysus is a great force of change in society. And it's also a feminine force, too. It drives. And it's got a feminine, masculine, transsexual force, actually, and drives society. So what I'm trying to say is when you have all the Nixon people that I put in that movie, all with their little shirts and ties and the same suits, then they run our policy and kill people all over the world, you know. This is when you need Dionysus. You need the Jim Morrisons of the world. Morrison was one of the most fertile poets, great writer. Drunk? Sure, he was Irish. High? Sure. He was from the 60s. He was insane at times, but God, he lived it, and he wrote great stuff. And, you know, all that crap about the first album being the last good one, that's crap. The later stuff is great. And that's what I try to show in the movie. It was shown chronologically. Some of that music at the end is just because of different music. People grow, people change. Morrison got fat, degenerate in a sense, but he always was rediscovering things. And he wanted to be a Hemingway for a while. He wanted to move to Paris and be a fat writer, you know. He had a tremendous sense of reinvention and creativity. And if he had lived, which I wish he had, because he would have really understood the impact of his songs on the world, I think he would have grown into a force to be reckoned with as perhaps as a film director, yeah.
What's the challenge in World Trade Center in your next film job right here? Maybe about finding a summit in the lodge. What's the challenge doing a movie that so such a hot issue right now in the United States especially, and you know you've done historical films. This is more of a current event almost.
I know this question is going to come up tonight. This is the kind of stuff I really save for later because it's a bigger question, you know, theoretical stuff, what I'm doing in the future. I know it's going to come up. I kind of want to talk more about movies here, you know, more like staying aside the movie subject. Do you mind? I mean, because if I answer it now, I promise you I'll answer it if you answer it tonight. It's a big question. Let's talk technique. You're movie students, okay? What do you want to know? How to write a screenplay, how to sell a screenplay, how to get a name? I can say this only, and you know, unless your uncles or relatives are in it, then you have some connection. And I didn't, by the way. I did not have good connections. I drove a cab, I was a messenger, I did office messenger, and I was also a street messenger. I was an advertising salesman for a sports film company. Driving a cab was a bitch. I had a wife who was working. I was a production assistant on a porn film. I mean, anything. I was in New York, so New York was the second most active city in the States. So, I think the best. But every year, no matter where I was very disciplined about one thing, which was writing another original screenplay. So I did like approximately 2 a year. If I could do it all over again, I'd try to do 3 a year, but I wouldn't spend as much time on the screenplay. But I really wrote full screenplays, and I would send them out to every fucking agent, every producer. I read the trades and did all that stuff. And the rejections, I had a lot, like at least 1,000. So it was very tough, And I'm saying you do it, but I do believe that if your material, it will be read by somebody, somewhere, and someone will connect. Because if it's on the page, they will get it. Someone will get it. That's the best way to communicate. Unless, of course, you have the ability to make a short film that'll blow them away or something like that, or maybe get on MTV or the commercial world. But, that is an approach. It's a legitimate approach. But I started with a screenwriter, and I did get my break from screenwriting. It took 7 years, but I did get my break. And I did finally write a script that was probably pretty good. But writing screenplays is an art form, and people always underrate it. Everyone thinks they can write the great American screenplay until they start, until they write it. But screenplay writing is as tricky and as treacherous a slope as any that I've seen. I think the novelists are snobs about that, and they miss the point of screenplay writing. Let's see, something easy here. You.
You've worked with a lot of big-name actors. Who would you say either your favorite one to work with, or who would you say is the most talented?
Or what?
Who would you say is the most talented? Who would you work with?
Do you think I'd say that? Where do you think that? I mean, that is a silly People magazine question. Yes.
You had $50,000 to make an Oliver Stone film. What would it look like? What would the medium be? Would you be interested in doing that?
50,000 in present day currency.
Yeah.
I probably have to go digital. I would shoot digital, and I'd get try to get actors, and above all, concentrate on the screenplay, and try to say something I wanted to say. There's no point in shooting anything if you're just hanging around waiting to find out what it's about. I always believe in an intention is there. A camera can be put 1,000 different angles in this room alone. The question is, what are you trying to say? And that's always the correlation, and you're using film to say it. But it does come from the word. Write it. It doesn't have dialogue, but it has to come from a structure that you see, which can change on the floor. But I'm saying I believe in the concept of a structure. But the other people don't throw it just off of me. But that's what I do with my 15. Plus probably, not almost in it. Yes, sir, with a beard. And a crazy arm.
Can you talk about some younger, more contemporary directors that have come out and really impressed you in maybe the last 10 years?